is going to help me with this reading today. So keep in mind, this is just a satirical short story. Um, so take it in the nature of funny. This is called "There Was Once" by Margaret Atwood.
We're putting on our acting hats.
Yes, we are. There was once a poor girl, as beautiful as she was good, who lived with her wicked stepmother in a house in the forest.
Forest? Forest is passe. I mean, I've had it with all this wilderness stuff. It's not a right image of our society today. Let's have some urban for a change.
There was once a poor girl, as beautiful as she was good, who lived with her wicked stepmother in a house in the suburbs.
That's better. But I have to seriously query this word poor.
But she was poor.
Poor is relative. She lived in a house, didn't she?
Yes.
Well, then, socioeconomically speaking, she was not poor.
But none of the money was hers. The whole point of the story is that the wicked stepmother makes her wear old clothes and sleep in the fireplace.
Aha! They had a fireplace. With poor, let me tell you, there's no fireplace. Come down to the park and come to the subway stations after dark. Come down to where they sleep in cardboard boxes, and I'll show you poor.
There was once a middle class girl, as beautiful as she was good.
Stop, stop, stop right there. I think we can cut the beautiful, don't you? Women these days have to deal with too many intimidating physical role models as it is. What with all these bimbos in the ads. Can't you make her, well, more average?
There was once a girl who was a little overweight and whose front teeth stuck out, who
Oh, I don't think it's nice to make fun of people's appearances. Plus, you're encouraging anorexia.
I wasn't making fun, I was just describing.
Get the description. Description oppresses. But you can say what color she was.
What color?
Black, white, red, brown, yellow. Those are the choices. And I'm telling you right now, I've had enough of white. Dominant culture this, dominant culture that.
I don't know what color.
Well, it would probably be your color, wouldn't it?
But this isn't about me. It's about this girl.
Everything is about you.
It sounds to me like you don't want to hear this story at all.
Well, go on. You could make her ethnic. That would help.
There was once a girl of indeterminate descent, as average looking as she was good, who lived with her wicked.
Oh, another thing, good and wicked. Don't you think you could transcend those puritanical, judgmental, moralistic epithets? I mean, so much of that is conditioning, isn't it?
There was once a girl, as average looking as she was well adjusted, who lived with her stepmother, who was not a very open and loving person because she herself had been abused in childhood.
Better. But I am so tired of negative female images and stepmothers. They always get it in the neck. Change it to stepfather, why don't you? That would make more sense anyway, considering the bad behavior you're about to describe. And throw in some whips and chains. We all know what those twisted, repressed, middle-aged men are like.
Hey, just a minute. I'm a middle-aged.
Wait, no, be quiet.
There was once a girl.
How old was she?
I don't know. She was young.
Oh, this ends with marriage, right?
Well, not to blow the plot, but yes.
Well, then you can scratch the condescending, paternalistic terminology. It's woman. Woman.
There was once.
What's this was once? Enough of the dead past. Tell me about now.
There.
So,
So what?
so why not here?
Thank you, Diana. Good morning. That was There Was Once by Margaret Atwood. People's perceptions about words can be funny, can't they? When Reverend Sue taught us homiletics, the class about writing and delivering homilies, she mentioned something about devil words. Those words that automatically make people shudder or stop listening or turn people off. I remember thinking at the time that I was going to one day write a homily that contained all of those words, just to teach people that associating fear or discomfort to a word is kind of silly. But don't worry, today's not that day. So no talk about devils or demons or using the word moist. What I immediately came to when I read this story is how difficult it is to please everyone. And as humans, especially as sensitive, empathic humans, we always wish to make sure that we're taking everyone's feelings and beliefs into consideration as we each work on writing or telling the story of who we are. But we also need to make sure that someone else's beliefs or opinions are not the ones we're allowing to write our story. Or, as in what Margaret Atwood wrote, we may end up with nothing much of our own story to tell. We each are an author, a storyteller. We are the author of our own story, penning it upon the ethers of time. Has anyone ever heard of the Akashic Records? Yeah. The term became popular with the theosophists of the late 19th century, and it's still widely utilized today, especially in our world, right? Edgar Casey defined the Akashic Records by saying, upon time and space is written the thoughts, the deeds, the activities of an entity. By entity, he meant person. But the concept of a record of everything that has ever happened and ever will happen, it's very ancient. The Old Testament talks about the book of life, where God keeps track of the true believers. The Chitragupta is a Hindu god assigned with the task of complete records of the actions of human beings on the earth. In Islam, Allah appointed two angels to serve as Kiraman Katibin for each person on earth. And Kiraman Katibin means honorable recorders or noble writers. Angel on your right shoulder records your good deeds. The angel on your left shoulder records your negative deeds. And they talk to each other. Sometimes the guy on the right shoulder would be like, hey, don't write that down yet. She's going to figure this out. So the concept of some type of cosmic record has been around for a really long time. What I view the Akashic records as is that imprint that each of us leaves on the universe. Our story becomes our own personal chapter in an infinite book. We often speak about unity, about oneness, about the all. And that is very much a spiritual principle that we need to understand. Everything we do impacts another. We're all tied together. What decisions I make today can very well impact you tomorrow. Or what I do and say can change your chapter in the book of oneness or the Akashic records. But it's also important for us to each realize that we are our own scribes. We decide what will be written in the eternal record about ourselves. So, okay, this whole thing can be kind of confusing, huh? oneness as opposed to I? How do I successfully navigate being me and being part of the whole? It's a paradox, all right. A great, wonderful, mystical contradiction. Or is it? Recently, I've been having a lot of dreams about oneness, and they're kind of strange dreams, right? It's not like a normal dream where something's happening. I wake up knowing that I've been in the midst of some type of lecture, or some type of class, some type of conversation about unity and oneness. A week or two ago, I awoke from a dream knowing that I'd learned about oneness again. But this time I received something sort of funny. Something about pasta fazool. Now, in the spirit of total honesty, I have to confess that I had just made pasta fazool a couple of nights before. So spirit used that as a way to teach me, like they will. It took me a little while before I understood exactly what was meant by pasta fazool. Why was I waking up talking about oneness and pasta fazool? So for those of you who don't know, it's an Italian dish of pasta and beans. I'd actually gotten a little creative and I added some peas to my version, along with the cannellini beans. After all, I really like pasta and peas too. So why shouldn't I combine the two into one delicious dinner? So my first thought on the meaning was the importance of being creative, about allowing your instincts to guide you instead of just following a standard recipe, right? And when I brought my thoughts up to spirit, when I mulled that around, I got a yes. Yep, that was part of it. But a day or two later, the whole meaning finally came to me. And when it did, I gave myself one of those slaps on the forehead. Each ingredient of this dish was unique and stood on its own. Cannellini beans, pasta, tomato sauce, olive oil, garlic. But when combined together, they became something wonderful and special. You could still pick out the beans and the pasta. They hadn't disappeared when combined into a single dish. They were still themselves. They just accented each other. The cannellini beans would be just as happy being part of a 3-bean salad or a chili. The ditalini pasta would be just as worthwhile in a chicken soup or a minestrone or served with butter and garlic. But they need to be part of something in order to be complete. Oneness, one dish, pasta fazool, and yet individuality with all the different ingredients. My version of the dish had peas added. Someone else's version might have spinach. Does that mean the next time you make pasta and beans, you have to add peas? Or the next time I make it, I have to add spinach? No, it certainly doesn't. And if someone tries to tell me that I shouldn't use peas because it's not in the recipe, or it's not right, well, if I listen to them, then the dish is no longer as special to me. It's not mine any longer. It's kind of like the story in our reading this morning. If I remove something from what makes me me, then the result becomes less complete, less fulfilling, less enjoyable for me. So let's look at this a little more broadly. What if what Spirit was trying to show me was an analogy explaining the concept of God? What if God was the pasta fazool? Boy, those nuns in the Catholic school would be angry at me. And we're each the ingredients. You're the ditalini, I'm the beans, someone else is the sauce. Each of us has an important part to play in this dish, or an important chapter to write in the bigger book. The longer that I do this work, the more I'm beginning to understand that there's a reason for everything that we see and experience. There are clues all around us in the physical world to help lead us to understand who we are from a bigger perspective. One of the most powerful metaphysical quotes that I go back to often is from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. As above, so below. What we see in ourselves and around ourselves can give us a clue to some of the greatest of life's mysteries. The Bible in Genesis tells us that we were created in God's own image. Yet, we're not all created exactly the same. Did you know our human DNA is 99.9% the same? 99.9%. But that 0.1% difference is what makes us each unique. Sure, we receive DNA from our family, from our mothers, our fathers, our ancestors. But the combination that's you, that's totally unique, totally you. So what if each of us is an aspect of God, the universe, the source? Just like our physical DNA, we've each received our own unique combination of source attributes. And that spiritual DNA is what makes us who we are. Our own divinity is unique and special, and part of the universal pasta fazool. There was an ancient religion, Manichaeism. It began in Persia in the 3rd century, founded by the Persian prophet Mani, who was known as the Apostle of Light and the Supreme Illuminator. One of the teachings of this religion spoke to this concept. It was that to know one's self is to see one's soul as sharing in the very nature of God and as coming from a transcendent world. As we learn, as we grow, we begin to realize that who we are is divine, and that the story that will imprint on those Akashic records is not only important, it's mandatory for the universe to be complete. My story is not your story. And I think that's really important for all of us to remember. I shouldn't be telling you what words to use or not to use, what beliefs to have or not to have. As healers, as messengers, as teachers, as ministers, we all wish to share what we've learned and what we understand to be truth. We want to do that to help, right? To show others what words are available and to help them find their footing, find their way, find their words. But it's up to each person to realize that their story is unique. Our personal answers are inside of us, and those answers might not all be the same, but they will fit together, just like a big puzzle. Each piece is independent, just like our pasta fazool, right? But each piece also fits with the other pieces to complete a larger picture. My truth will fit with your truth, and your truth will fit with someone else's. This is one story with infinite chapters. In the Gnostic Gospels, one of the books that never made it into the Bible, the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if those who lead you say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, it's in the sea, then the fishes will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you and outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize that you are the children of the living Father. But if you do not come to know yourselves, then you exist in poverty, and you are poverty. Basically, he was saying that no one else is going to be able to lead you to the answers about who you are and what you're here for. And that if you allow someone else to do that, you'll end up not allowing your true spiritual wealth to flourish. Jesus, that great spiritual avatar, he was both God and man. Maybe, just maybe, that's part of the message he was meant to bring us. Maybe he came to teach us that divine and the physical can exist in the same being, that we're part of the divine living in a physical realm, and each of us exists. Inside each of us exists the truth to the kingdom that we seek. So, as we proceed on this journey, let's remember that our individuality is just as important as our oneness. We are God and man. We are all and we are one. No one else can tell you how to write your story. Yes, we need to be considerate of the feelings of others, and we need to ensure that nothing in our story is going to cause harm or pain to someone else or negatively impact their story. But we also need to remember that our story is ours to create, and that if we allow someone else to tell us what words to use or what ingredients to cook with, then we'll end up with a story as silly as the one in our reading, with nothing left of us. I'm going to leave you with this quote from Anais Nin in the Diary of Anais. He says, "There's not one big cosmic meaning for all. There's only one meaning we each give to our life, an individual meaning, an individual plot, like an individual novel, a book for each person." Thank you.